Welcome back to Pin and Reel. I'm your host, Uncle Joel, and today we're going to be talking about the Dark Knight's death metal tie-in, Speed Metal. This is written by Joshua Williamson with art by Eddie Barrows. So if you have followed any of my reviews so far for the Dark Knight's death metal event, I have very mixed feelings on the event overall. When it comes to most events, I can enjoy a good tie-in, but I usually prefer it to be something that stands on its own while expanding upon the story and the world created in the main event. I typically do not care for those times that the events take over ongoing stories, such as Flash or Batman and whatnot, that are not already a part of the main event, such as the way Justice League was. Justice League already built up to the death metal event, so it made sense to have the Justice League title tie into the event. So normally I would say leave them alone, leave them separate, because usually when you have tie-ins like that, they're fairly lackluster, they don't really add to the event, and they're more just there to capitalize on the publicity of the event, and are really just a cash grab. This, however, is not that. First off, this isn't taking over the main Flash title. This is a tie-in title that simply features the Flash and the Flash characters and is written by the same writer as the Flash. So if you're reading the Flash book and you have no interest in the death metal event, you can skip this issue and you can just continue reading Flash and it'll be totally fine. However, if you are reading The Flash, it really helps to build this issue up and make it stronger, so you're going to appreciate this story more if you have been reading The Flash. That being said, you don't have to have read The Flash in order to enjoy this issue. This is an extremely well-structured issue, and honestly, so far, all of the tie-in issues for the event have been much better than the main event itself, in my mind, which is totally bizarre. It's usually the reverse of that. So one of the things that makes this issue different from the main Flash book is this issue is primarily focused on Wally, even though it does feature Jay Garrick, the other Wally West, and Barry Allen. This issue picks up right after the events of issue number 3 of the main event, with the Flashes running away from the Darkest Night, and the main conflict for them seems to just be run away, stay alive, while waiting for Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman to go into the dark multiverse in order to get crisis energy to help power up Wally West. And so it seems like it's a very flimsy setup for even a single issue of they just have to run away and keep running. However, Joshua Williamson really knows what he's doing here. He manages to take this single standalone issue and do a ton of significant character work, developing and furthering Wally West and Barry Allen's relationship, as well as adding to and building upon the mythos of Wally West. Ever since Wally West returned to the DC Universe in the Rebirth era, DC hasn't really known what to do with them. And I think that's largely why we wound up getting Heroes in Crisis, where people wound up hating the event because it just completely trashed Wally's character. And ever since then, DC has seemed to be kind of scrambling to rectify that with books like Flash Forward, which I reviewed a short time ago, trying to give Wally a bit of redemption while at the same time making him unique and more distinct from Barry Allen. You have two Flashes who are primarily just two people who can run really fast. And yeah, there's a lot more to that, and especially with the Speed Force and whatnot. But DC seemed to be scrambling to find a way to make him more distinct and more unique from Barry. Now, personally, I think personality alone is significant enough to do that, and they didn't really need to do a whole lot more to distinguish him, with his powers and whatnot. But, my opinion aside, they decided, okay, we're going to give Wally the powers of Dr. Manhattan. And we're going to have him take over the Mobius chair, Metron's flying omnipotent chair. And so with the way Flash Forward ended, particularly in the trade version, which included the Free Comic Book Day tie-in story that wrapped up Flash Forward and then tied it to Dark Knight's death metal, it was really setting up to give Wally a very, very different role going forward. So then, the last time we saw Wally was in Flash Forward, and he had just got the Mobius chair, and then the next time we see him is in Dark Knight's death metal, and he doesn't have the Mobius chair anymore. And to my recollection, there isn't really an explanation for that. And it seems like the power that he got from Dr. Manhattan is fading, and so it just felt like all of this build-up and setup, and then they weren't really doing anything with it. But then, as the event proceeded, they definitely tied in all of this development into the story of Dark Knight's death metal, and it did feel like they were actually going to go somewhere with it. And this book right here, Speed Metal, really works with it. So whereas Flashpoint was trying to redeem Wally West, I didn't really feel like it fully had done so. Joshua Williamson recently, in stuff that he has done in the main Flash title, particularly with Reverse Flash and the new powers he has developed as seen in the Flash number 762. So between that issue of The Flash and then now Speed Metal, I feel like the redemption of Wally West is complete. Like, we have Wally back on track where he needs to be, and I feel like we're going to have proper Wally stories going forward from here. And this issue also serves to rectify some of the mistakes that I feel have been plaguing the Dark Knight's Death Metal event, and that is namely that all of the characters drawn from the Dark Multiverse have been alternate versions of Batman. Which I kind of understand because the Metalverse was created and crafted and molded by the Batman Who Laughs. However, that's felt very limiting to me, and I have felt like there should be a lot more diversity in the things pulled from the Dark Multiverse. And fortunately, Joshua Williamson does that here in Speed Metal, and he does it in a very interesting way. Now, I don't know how this is going to play out, as this leads directly into Dark Knight's Death Metal issue number 4, but I do really like this development, and I would be very curious to see more of it. And even just in the event itself, I would be curious to see more developments like this. And the issue does serve to redirect the Flashes and give them a bit more of a purpose, as opposed to simply running away as they had been in the main event. So I'd say overall, this is a really good issue. It was a really well done tie-in. It definitely justified its existence, more so than Trinity Crisis. It's a strong issue. It's a good addition to the Dark Knight's Death Metal. It is really good if you're a fan of the Flash, especially if you're a fan of Wally. And it gives me a lot of hope for the rest of the event going forward. Let's just hope Scott Snyder manages to pick up on these threads and doesn't let them go to waste. But even if he does, at least we have Wally West back where he needs to be, and we have hope for Wally West stories in the future. If you're a fan of Wally West or a fan of the Dark Knight's Death Metal, let me know in the comments what you thought of this issue and what your hopes are for Wally West going forward. Personally, I actually really like his blue suit, and I hope that sticks around, even if the Dr. Manhattan powers do not. And likewise, I would like to see Wally West get his own title and become sort of the multiversal Flash. Barry can stick around and be the Flash primarily on the main Earth, whereas Wally traverses the multiverse, and that is his main focus. I feel like that would be a good setup to give us more multiverse stories, as well as allowing Wally to have a distinct role within the DC universe. But what do you think? Let me know down in the comments. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on the rest of my Dark Knight's Death Metal coverage, as well as other comic book reviews and geek-related content. If you like the video, hit like, share it, and leave a comment with your review of the book. And until next time, this is Uncle Joel saying, stay tangible.